Norse Mythology. P14, King Utgard Loki. Following the previous part, Thor, Loki, and Thialfi followed Skrymir to King Utgard Loki's palace. The palace was so large that Thor had to duck just to enter the main door. Inside, they were amazed by the grand hall and the giant guests at the feast. King Utgard Loki welcomed Thor and his companions with a stern expression. He invited them to join the feast, filled with delicious food and fine wine. Thor was given a horn made of a bull's horn. King Utgard Loki challenged Thor to empty the horn in one gulp. Thor laughed and said, "You don't know my drinking skills." Thor tilted his head back and drank deeply, but to his surprise, the horn didn't seem to empty. He tried again, but the result was the same. On his third attempt, he drank with all his might, and the liquid finally decreased slightly. Loki and Thialfi were astonished, while King Utgard Loki and the giants laughed with delight. To liven up the feast, King Utgard Loki suggested that Thor and his friends participate in some contests to test their strength and skills. The first contest. The eating race Loki was confident that he could win this contest, so he stepped up to compete against Logi, a giant. They sat across from each other at a long table filled with delicious food. There was everything. The rule was simple. Whoever ate their way to the middle of the table first would win. As the contest began, Loki ate quickly. In no time, he'd finished an entire cow, 2 lizards, and 3 wild boars. A mountain of bones piled up beside him. Loki smirked, thinking victory was his. But when he glanced at Logi, he was shocked. Logi had already eaten halfway through the table. And not just the meat. Logi devoured the bones, the bowls, the plates, and even the table itself. Loki had lost the first contest. The second contest, the running race. The next challenge was a race. Thialfi, a young farmer with legs as fast as the wind, was chosen to race against Hugi. The goal was to run to a great oak tree outside the city and back. When the whistle blew, Thialfi dashed forward like a lightning bolt. In no time, he reached the oak tree. Looking back, he saw that Hugi was still standing at the starting line, not even moving. Thialfi felt sure of victory but kept his focus and ran back as fast as he could. But just as he neared the finish line, Hugi finally started running. In a blink, Hugi ran not just to the oak tree, but around it twice, and still reached the finish line before Thialfi. The fourth contest, a test of strength. Now, it was Thor's turn. Surely the mighty god of strength could win back some honor for the gods of Asgard. King Utgard Loki pointed to a cat lying lazily on the floor. "If you are truly strong, lift this cat off the ground," the king challenged. Thor stepped forward, placed his shoulder under the cat's belly and used all his strength to lift it. But no matter how hard he tried, he could barely lift one paw or maybe its tail. The hall erupted in laughter. The giants roared with amusement while Thor clenched his fists in frustration. King Utgard Loki chuckled. "If the great Thor still has strength left, then I offer him a wrestling match." An old woman stepped out from the back of the hall. "This is Ellie, my nursemaid," the king announced. "If you can defeat her, I will give you all the gold and treasure I own." She looked weak and frail, but when the match began, she had the strength of a mountain. Thor struggled with all his might, but in the end, Ellie threw him to the ground. Defeated in every challenge, Thor and his companions felt humiliated. They quickly gathered their belongings and prepared to leave. King Utgard Loki walked them to the gates and then revealed a shocking truth. "Everything you saw was an illusion," he said. "I, Utgard Loki, was actually Skrymir in disguise. The hammer blows you struck at me carved deep craters into the earth. The drinking horn was connected to the endless ocean. Who could ever drink the sea dry? Logi was actually fire itself. Who can eat faster than fire? Hugi was thought itself. Who can be faster than a thought? The cat was no ordinary cat, but Jormungandr, the great world serpent, whose body encircles all of Midgard. Who could possibly lift such a creature? And Ellie, she was old age. No one, not even a god, can defeat old age. Thor realized he had been battling the forces of nature itself, something no one could ever truly conquer. As the king finished speaking, he and his entire palace disappeared. Though they had lost, Thor and his friends had learned a valuable lesson. No matter how strong one is, there are limits to power. Even gods must bow before the might of nature and the passage of time.